So, ladies and gentlemen,
Right.
welcome to the Cardano Community Podcast. Today, we're having a very special guest, Surya Saha, who is a risk consultant, PhD speaker, blockchain tech, and also the author of Digital Choices. But before we get to Surya, Vasil, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. Today here is sunny and 27, 26 degrees Celsius. So greetings from, like Charles says, greetings from warm sunny Plovdiv.
Wish it was warm here. As we have whole day rain, man, and it's cold. Surya, welcome, welcome.
Welcome, Surya. What is the weather at your place in Bangalore now or where?
I'm in Bangalore. It's close to about 10:30 p.m. and I'm not quite sure of the weather though, but it's pleasant. It's
Nice.
pleasant.
Nice.
And I have heard that Bangalore is one of the top three IT mega centers of India.
Yes, it's the number one, followed by Hyderabad.
So you are the right person at the right place in the right time.
I believe so.
Congratulations. ah, uh, I would suggest that you first introduce yourself with 7 words.
7 words.
That's
Okay.
difficult.
7.
That
Plus
is
minus
difficult.
2.
Yeah,
Could be 9, could be 5.
that is difficult. But anyhow, I'll just give it a shot. That's fine. Yeah. So, okay. So, yeah, this is Surya from joining you guys from Bangalore. I am by profession a risk consultant, particularly focused in the insurance industry, and the passion of the area, I mean, the areas of my passion where I focus is blockchain and insurtech. And with this, I am pursuing my PhD in enterprise blockchain, where I'm trying to understand um, blockchain business models for the insurance claims process in order to make it more efficient, as well as reduce the fraud that happens in the insurance claims, which is estimated to have been $4 billion just in 2019 in the US alone. So you can see what it would be worldwide. So, and what role blockchain can play for the insurance industry.
Yes, definitely.
So, and besides, just a couple of months back, February 2020, I published my book, The Digital Choices, where the aim was mainly to take readers through the digital transformation journey, and not just for the techies, but it's more on for the laymen's, for university graduates who would like to understand what is digital transformation, what is happening out there in the world. So I've taken a step-by-step phase to take them through, starting from the opportunity, the digital leadership, and what's the battle happening in the digital journey, and then have focused specifically on 3 aspects, that is blockchain, fintech, and insurtech. And then slowly I've shifted to taking the readers to various blockchain ecosystem on the top 10 happenings in top 10 countries. And then I concluded by giving a view of the digital workforce that we need for the future, the cooperation, the collaboration we need between government agencies, the startups, the tech companies, the other big incumbents, and the academia. So that's what I have concluded with. So if you guys really, I hope you will like it, and do give me your feedback.
I will be able to read later. I just now read only short descriptions, the keywords,
Right.
because I was also has been very busy in the last days Denisio knows that. By the way, a personal question, Surya. What is the year you were born?
1987.
1987. Oh, very good. I could call you son, because I have been involved in conceiving two human beings, and one is born in 84, the other one 85, so 87 is very close. What is your short answer about the difference actually between Bitcoin and blockchain? Because some people initially, when they are totally new, they don't make a difference. And later you could tell me what is your understanding about the generations of blockchain technology.
Well, firstly, yeah, it's a very good question. Bitcoin and blockchain. So, here it would be, important to understand what's the difference between Gmail and internet, right? So Gmail is nothing but Bitcoin, internet is nothing but blockchain. So blockchain is the underlying platform that supports the Bitcoin transactions. And what is Bitcoin? Nothing but a digital units that being transferred from one person to another person, one node to another node, right? And that has a value for its exchange. So that would be term it as coin and digital money and assets and whatever we call. But this basic fundamental is that. So that's what we need to understand. How can we differentiate in a very, very layman language?
Yes, and then what is your opinion? Because Bitcoin was issued on the mainnet on January 2009. We have already 11 years. How many generations you could, let's say, observe in the blockchain technology from 2009 to 2020 now? What are your observations?
I did not get that question again, please.
How many generations of blockchain technology you could observe as a separate, relatively separate levels of development of technology, of blockchain technology?
Well, when you talk about crypto assets and blockchain, so down the line, if you see, as per we predict, there won't be any fiat currencies, right? So what would replace that is nothing but digital currency. And what comes in that is Bitcoins, Ethereum, Ripple, Cardano, and Litecoin and other things. So, of course, we are at the moment in the third generation, if I'm not wrong, which is the Cardano.
Yes.
Yeah, Cardano is already third. By the way, I could share with you my joke with Gypsy King. Denisio, no, sorry, very shortly.
It's a good one.
Gypsy King, I explained grandfather Bitcoin, uncle Ethereum, and the young guy Cardano. Very simple.
Right. Of course, yeah. Cardano, the third generations actually, would take care of their ancestors' errors, which is scalability, and of course, giving the real value of money.
Yes. But also interoperability is also something that we've not seen, and that's something that I think is also required. And of course the
interoperability as well.
And governance, I think that's something that's, we've seen definitely with the Dash has a good governance model, but it's not like widely across the whole crypto space or blockchain space. We don't see that. So that's one thing that definitely should be needs attention. And I think the third generation blockchain does address that.
And Surya, what is your opinion about the other innovative technologies which also interfere with blockchain technology and shape out the digital transformation?
Well, one of the first thing that I would consider is IoT. So, which is definitely one of the significant element for blockchain to function. Now, if you allow me to take an example, from the insurance industry, there are in the industry itself, it is very conservative in nature. They are very risk averse. They do not want to try out new things until and unless it is tried and tested.
Yes.
So in the insurance industry, a blockchain would efficiently function with the presence of IoT. Now, why? For what was the main challenge in an insurance industry that we need to understand first? The main challenge in the entire value chain is understanding customers. They're having customers' data verified, having claims data and amount verified, the trust issues between a policyholder and an insurer and the middleman like broker and agents and others, and of course the time consumption that happens in the entire cycle of getting the insurance policy amount back to the policy holder. Now, in all this builds a kind of perception for the policy holder. So these are the few challenges or major challenges that the industry is facing. Now, blockchain is an ultimate solution to it. Of course, there will be some challenges because we have to see how things work. Everything is at a very nascent phase. Now, why IoT? Like if I just quote an example of motor insurance or even a marine insurance. So blockchain is giving you the underlying platform to protect your data, protect the identity. But how exactly the data will get transmitted on a real-time basis depends on the oracles that the blockchain network would use, right? And that would depend on IoT devices. So if a ship is sailing in a particular direction and it moves to another for some or other reason, so how do an insurer know and verify it? Through real-time data. Now, how the real-time data is getting transmitted? Through IoT, satellite services, and then the data is getting protected, verified within seconds through blockchain network, which can be trusted by the all participants within that particular transaction of the policy, like the insurer, the insuree, the middleman or the broker, or whoever it is, and underwriters and agents, and etc. So if, for example, you have a ship called ABC. Now the ABC is sailing to a particular direction and you move to another direction which may not be fit for sailing at that particular season, but the ship owners actually have bought a policy for sailing to a particular direction for business, maybe, but he has moved to another direction. So that direction is actually more risky for the sailor as well as the insurer. So through IoT, the real-time data will give information on the spot to all the participants there, and the policy amount will automatically get recalculated, right? So because when you're sailing in a lesser risky area, you're paying $5, for example. Now, if you're sailing in a higher risk area, means the policy amount has to be higher, right? So how do they know? Through all this functions and algorithms, the policy amount will get recalculated and the insurer will understand that and insert it in the policy as a new addition through a newer block in the blockchain, right? So that way, the sailor cannot remodify or any sort of do some dodgy business with wherever he's sailing, because it's very transparent out there, and the insurers also know what is happening with the ship. So they are not in loss because they are going to charge the extra premium, which got recalculated from the policyholder. So there's no chance or even of coming a fraud, right? So even if an accident happens to the particular ship, everything is real time. So they know what has happened, why it has happened. So it will significantly reduce the fraud as well as the amount of understanding any discrepancies between between both the parties. So IT and blockchain would go hand in hand, particularly for this industry.
Surya, what is your opinion in this, let's say, area about normally the third innovative technology, often spelled out artificial intelligence?
Very frank, I am not. I mean, I have not worked with AI devices much. So, of course, I mean, it also has a lot of significance in every industry we look through, be it automation, machine learning. So whatever we talk about, the fundamental is to increase efficiency, improve the ROI, right? So there's a lot of misconception out there as well that when you automate things, you're going to, replace a lot of human capital with artificial robots. So of course, to an extent, it might happen, or it will happen rather. But those individuals will have to get, will get a new role to work with. So
Yep.
as a human, as an individual, we need to upskill ourselves each day, right? We cannot be consistent with a particular skill and go with it forever. So those times are gone. So that's the challenge we have to undergo.
So are you saying by this that people should not be solely concerned about, let's say, remaining out of a job, but understand that with the new technology comes also new opportunities? Basically, that's what you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. New opportunities will bring in more opportunities. It's only a matter of time that we need to understand. So the stigma, as a human, uh, we don't want to change, right? We are happy to be with what we are. It's difficult for
Yeah,
us to change and adopt. So that is the main challenge there. So we
correct.
need to come out of it. We need to learn new things. We need to look at the opportunities. So there's a worldwide saying that opportunity knocks only once. That actually is not true. That's something that I would reject. I would reframe it as opportunity knocks several times, but it knocks softly. So you have to be alert. You need to understand your surroundings. You need to be aware of it. And that's when you can respond and not react. Right.
What is your opinion, Surya, about smart contracts and the relative technology of smart contracts from second and third generation blockchain to insurance industry?
Well, what is the function of smart contract? It's nothing but a digital agreement, right? Which can automatically you know register things into a ledger, verify things into a ledger. So that's the whole difference. Ages back we used to use paper books for bookkeeping, right? So the same thing will happen in a digital way, which is nothing but the smart contracts. So in an insurance industry, for example, in a transaction, if I have to quote an example from the motor insurance, so the nodes or the participants will be an insurer, a motor insurer, the policy holder, and a middleman, right? So when I, for example, would like to buy a policy, I would first start with a KYC, know your customer, right? So when a customer provides his data or connects with the system which already has the customer's data, perhaps previous buying behaviors, previous car registry details and other stuff from the government records. So it automatically collects all the data and registers through the smart contracts, and which is verified, of course.
Yeah.
Right. So and that communication goes through the entire channel of the motor insurers as well as the middlemen. Now, if, for example, a recent very well-known example is the startup called Lemonade. So they are a blockchain-based startup for the insurance industry, specifically for motor insurance. So they have, through blockchain framework and DLT, they are connected. So they are providing the platform of blockchain, and they have insurers on board, they have customers on board. So of course, the middleman gets eradicated in the process. So when a customer buys the policy, all the KYC data is already in the system, which the company is getting from the previous records of the history from which is stored in the public blockchain through various other blocks. So when that particular person in reality met with an accident, the data in the blockchain and of course the IoT device in the car triggered that alert to the insurer, which helped the insurer to understand whether the accident was actually legitimate or not, how it has happened. Everything is just like the black box, in an aircraft, right? So those informations automatically reach the insurer, where they understand the risk is legitimate, what was the risk coverage, how much the damage was, what was the intensity, and the behavior of the driver, their driving pattern, their age, when was the car bought, etc., etc. So all this help to calculate the policy amount that should go back to the customer. Now, if a couple of months back, an accident happens, and the process of getting the claims back is I have to reach out to my agent. The agent will reach out to the insurer. Someone will come to verify the accident. What was it? How it was happened? It's a long months process. Now, but all this, this emerging technology like blockchain and IoT has actually made it a reality where this particular person got his claim amount back within 4 seconds in his account. So when the person actually met an accident, and before he actually got out of his car, he got a message on his phone that his claims amount is in his account. Now that is something we're looking for as like, wow, that is a customer service that we're looking for. That saves a lot of money for the insurer.
Wow.
Because they don't have to send any verifier to the location.
No.
They don't have to hire external people to understand what it is. Nothing. A lot of cost saved. Now time, instead of 2-3 months, it is 4 seconds. I mean, that is, and it's a legitimate amount. There's no loss that has happened for the insurer. So it's a win-win for everybody. Right.
The scenario that you just sketched, there, that's like, obviously is the ideal scenario that every single insurance company would love, not having a middleman, not having less excessive costs, and being able, let's say, to pay out within a very short term. But also assess all of the different risks, within a whatever model that may be.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the future.
This is absolutely something that I would say the answer that we were looking for all this while.
Yeah.
And another interesting part that I'm actually currently researching on is this happened because the insurance amount, the policy, and the product for which the insurance was bought, it's a very small thing. It's just a vehicle. So what I'm most interested in know, how will this blockchain model will work, or how it can be made, to use in case of a space mission, right? So if you all must have heard about the recent SpaceX and NASA, the successful mission that they had, right?
Yeah.
So uh, globally, there, even the European Space Center. In India, we have the Indian Space Research Organization. Then, of course, NASA and some of the private companies who are working in the space segment, which is SpaceX. Then you have Virgin Orbit, you have Virgin Galactic, all that. But if you notice very carefully, how many of these space missions are actually insured? Very less. Now, why? Because a space mission it's not a joke, right? I mean, it's a huge amount of capital that goes in there, huge amount of time that goes in there, and the risk it's massive. So, of course, the capital of insuring is one part of it, but another part of it is most insurers do not want to cover because of the likelihood of the risk, right? After all, the insurance industry is also a commercial industry, right? They have to make profit out of it, whatever they do. So if the likelihood of a risk is very high, so it's, whatever the policy amount comes in and whatever goes out, that's going to be a real tricky situation for an insurer. So that is one thing. But there are this sort of space missions, space organizations are looking into this insurance aspect more, in a more focused manner. Their interest is, gaining the entire new emerging technologies growth, how it can help the space centers, their work, their missions and activities. So, insurers are getting more and more interest from such space organizations. But how do they actually cover those risks?
Yeah.
So they are also companies in the segment of reinsuring, right? So reinsurance is basically, if I'm an insurer, I'm covering your risk, and I think it may be too risky for me. What I'll do, I'll go to another company and cover my risk for this particular risk and pay a premium to another company, right? And also, if I want to take the particular risk if I want to cover it, I'll, for example, divide it with other insurers. Now, if, for example, Liberty would take 20% of it, Swiss Re would take 50% of it, and the rest may be, taken by other companies like Hanover Re or anybody else. So there's a lot of participants out there to distribute a particular risk coverage, right? So we know a rocket or a spacecraft was, it took off, and something happened. So it's visible that it burst in the mid-air. So it's a damage basically. So the insurer have to cover it. But of course, in an insurance policy, there are thousands of terms and conditions, right? So whether it has happened because of a technical fault, which may not be covered in that particular policy. Now, will blockchain and IoT or any other such technologies will be able to give real-time data on such risk coverages for space missions? If so, how? Will there be any startups coming up with it? Will Elon Musk look into it? We don't know. Research is still going on, so we need to understand how more this technology can help covering risk for this particular sector.
Earlier, Vasil mentioned about the generations, that we saw. Now, obviously, if we were solely to depend on the Bitcoin network or blockchain as a reliable source for recording these type of events, it's less likely to happen. You won't find much trust. And as you mentioned as well there, Surya, you said, hey, insurers are very hesitant to enter any kind of let's say, use of any kind of new technology if it has not yet proven itself. So yeah, obviously, with Bitcoin scalability issue that would not just happen, because you need real time data, you need very fast turnaround time in order to yeah, let's say, um, to build something reliable. And then you had the second generation, but then we see that they had also their issues with obviously scalability, right? So that was not really a good choice. But the second generation blockchains, they have not stood still. They're also developed, evolved, and they're even working on bettering their platforms. And then you have third generation blockchains like Cardano, who's actually built their foundations on research. So it's tested, tried, tested, and it's just about, let's say, to be proven. Do you think that if Cardano gets this right and becomes the technology that actually is able to scale to millions, right, and possibly even billions, would they have the chance of being used or considered by such insurers?
See, I would look into it in two ways.
Yeah.
First, what is the real challenge with blockchain?
Okay.
It's not is I mean, if you ask anybody, the first thing which I get to know is anything and everything that revolves around the technology itself. Now, the main challenge of blockchain is not the technology. Technology will have its own errors, its own fault lines, and etc. But there are people to fix it. It's just time that we are looking at. But the main problem with blockchain is to bring people together to address, accept, and adopt blockchain, right? And this is the first part. And the second part would be, if the first part is taken care of, if there is a need in the market, players like insurers and others have to jump in because there is a commercial interest. That is the basic thing, right? So if platforms like Cardano, it is getting well accepted among millions, people are transacting, so there will be a need to cover any risk happening there. Now, all these are digital. Now, digital have a lot of prevailing as well as future risk coming to it, cyber attacks, etc. Right? Even if it is a crypto exchange, crypto wallet, everything has a risk. So everything has a risk. By this I mean there is an opportunity for insurer. So wherever there is a risk, there is an opportunity for an insurer.
Yeah.
So if that's getting traction, if it's in demand among people, they're using it more and more, transactions are happening daily, and the amounts is increasing, means the need of insurance is at its peak. So insurers have to jump in and, of course, make money out of it.
Yeah. Understood that. So you have first have, let's say, the general public, or let's say, and then you have the larger corporations who also saw kind of like let's say commercial interest in the use of the platforms.
Right, and they would be, of course, immense amount of competition from startups, which already the big firms are facing, because they are traditional insurers, not a tech guys. But if you see the technology startups, the companies who are already established and who are trying their best in the industry with a lot of fundings coming up, so they are also having their own products in the insurance segment, right? Now, if, for example, if Facebook tomorrow comes up with an insurance product as a new generation, will I be interested more with MetLife, or will I be interested more with Facebook? It'll be more with Facebook, because I'm interacting with the company every minute. I know their interface. I know they're engaging me all the time, and I know how to get the policies, just matter of couple of clicks from their own application, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, MetLife means I have to go through a hell lot of a process, even while buying the policy, while getting the claims, both ways. So in that way, these tech companies and the startups are giving a big time, competition with with the big firms, the incumbents. So that's one of the challenge the industry is facing, and which is why the easier way that we're dealing is through partnerships or mergers and acquisitions. Because what these startups or the growing tech companies don't have is capital, and what these incumbents have is capital. So how to challenge the issue? Either buy them or form a partnership with them. That way, they will be technology transfer, and they will support them with capital. So that is some of the areas that's how the industry is moving.
Interesting. Vasil,
Mm-hmm.
any thoughts on that?
When Surya explained this, I was thinking when the association, Libra Association, will be able to launch a Libra payment system, and if this will immediately get serious traction, and probably this could lead to certain collaboration between big insurance companies and this Libra Association. But as Charles Hoskinson mentioned, that according to him, Libra is not doing any innovation, just capitalizing using the big installed base of users of Messenger and WhatsApp, and just taking over, embedding inside opportunity to make this transaction with their cryptocurrency.
So there will not really be, let's say, there will not really be like a really competition, between the Libra platform and blockchain platforms like Cardano, as an example, because they're operating on totally different fields or something like that.
This is interesting question because Cardano, since the early years of the inception, one of the pillars of the vision is like giving a financial toolbox for billions of people from Africa, Asia, South America, which don't have bank accounts. In the same time, now Libra Association, they have the slogan to bank the unbanked.
Yeah, that's correct. But you see, I think I don't think Libra. I mean, Libra is for me more like this kind of stable coin thing that is indeed not really, um, yeah, excelling in terms of um, smart contracts. I've not heard anything like that. And if you're dealing, like, let's say with Surya, in the insurance world, smart contracts might be pretty interesting. And let's say the use of smart contracts can be very interesting, to these kind of corporations. But I've not heard of Libra incorporating anything like that on their platforms. It seems to be just the transfer of value, and yeah, that's all basically.
When you are talking now, I formulated a question which I will impose to Surya. What is your opinion, Surya, about let's say the interaction between so-called consortium blockchain, public blockchain in the field of insurance? How this will, according to you, will work?
Well, a public blockchain, I don't see it, you know, a more kind of a definitive use for the industry unless they are involved with any government agencies to get data. But a hybrid or a consortium will be of a more relevant. Of course, the private will be, as it's more internal to the organization. But why a consortium would be more useful? Because it's a combination of public and private, right? So when an insurers, for example, property insurance, let me take an example. So for a property insurers, what is important is understanding the policyholder, understanding the history of the land or the property, correct? So through the consortium blockchain platform, an insurer can do two things at the same time. One is provide the regulators and also gain information from the regulators regarding individuals' land or a property, that is, how old that is, where exactly it is located, what are the risk elements for it. Now, for example, if my property is located near a coast somewhere in the United States, so now this season, which is the hurricane season, this is most critical for any insurance companies who is covering any risk for any properties out there, right? So through a public blockchain, insurer as a participant in a particular group of projects would understand and get the data of the particular property, be it land or a house or a factory or anything. So that would take care of the public blockchain part. Now, the private part would be taken care with the information of the policyholder, right? Which is internal to the company and internal to the policyholder, which has been furnished regarding the KYC process of buying the policy. Now, that is, of course, as per the privacy rules and regulations, and what you have the GDPR in the Europe. No insurers can share that particular information about a policyholder to any individuals or organizations or groups. But at the same time, certain informations are required for understanding a particular risk, which is nothing but the information regarding the land or a property, which can be made available between all the participants in the public blockchain, which can be accessed between the insurer, between the broker, and the regulators, and of course between the policyholder as well. But on the other hand, personal details will only be between the insurer and the policyholder. So this is something would be most important for the insurers.
Surya, if I'm just thinking, right? Wouldn't it be beneficial for insurers to have that type of information, personal information, from individuals stored on the public side of the blockchain, this on the public blockchain? Because then you don't have to deal with, let's say, the GDPR rules, because it is on the public blockchain, right? The only thing you have to do is perhaps extract that information from the public blockchain and store it within your database.
See, in a public blockchain, what happens? Of course, the information remains out in the public, means it remains between all the participants of that particular transaction, not the real public out there. Now, in a particular transaction, there may be a number of participants. There are insurers, there are underwriters, there are insurees, there are reinsurers, there are government agencies, and others. Now, an individual's private informations are of no use to a broker, to a reinsurer, or to the government agencies as of now, because in some places you have more stricter rules. For example, in the United States, you have the social security number that has to be furnished. In India, we have something called the Aadhaar, right? Those are specific to the individual. Now, those cannot even be furnished with other participants within the public blockchain. So that would only be taken care by the private framework between insurer and the policyholder, and nobody else. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to come back on something that you mentioned earlier, right? You said that you were working on a research. Um, I think it has to do with the space agent, the use of blockchain technology, and let's say slash within the insurance world and space exploration. Um, how did you come about this? Because I really love the first part that you explained about the car and uh, the accident and how the combination between blockchain, IoT, the use of oracles, all of that, how that came together, and how in the event someone gets in an accident, that the car registers all of that information and it's been sent directly to the insurer, and you know based on whatever rules that is set up, it can be determined if it's a valid um, accident or not. And in the case it is a valid accident, then there's a you know let's say payout within seconds, within minutes, or perhaps instead of having to wait months to get your money. And then you mentioned the research you're working on with space exploration. I'm like, wow, how did you come by this? I've never heard anyone mention anything on that level. So like, wow, you're reaching for the stars. So
Well, yeah, as I mean, as a civilization, we are moving ahead each day, right? And is this particular decade, we are moving even more faster. We are collaborating even more effectively through the use of um, internet, right? Now, at this point of time, when all industries are moving, if you have noticed last couple of years, there's a huge amount of traction that has happened with space explorations. So every country, they are not just trying to innovate, but the more profound objective is to understand how such exploration can benefit and upgrade humanity. Right now, Elon Musk main objective was not to send human on the orbit to the International Space Station, but his main ambition is to colonize Mars. No, so that is the level of vision we are looking at. So when improvements are happening at such pace, what are the other elements that would come along with it? So the more I learned, I tried to understand how well can I align that with the subject of interest, my subject of interest.
yeah,
So, and insurance is an industry which itself is risk averse, but it covers risk, right? So they are everywhere, and they have to be everywhere. So the as days passes, improvement happens, technological advancements are happening. The importance of insurance, the realization among people, industries, and youth are becoming more higher and higher. So there would be a time where there's certain amount of insurance aspects will become a mandate. Of course, at some part of the country, some part of the world, there are certain mandates on insurance policies, but it will become definitely a mandate for more other things. Now, when I say the risk coverage part of insurance, it starts with micro insurance to insuring a spacecraft, a submarine, a ship, whatever. Now, whatever we spoke about, whatever I've seen, I have understood, I've experienced, I've researched about, I've worked with, it's more on something which is on Earth, that is more, keeping aside the challenges, it has the accessibility, the capability of understanding uh, is more easier than anything which is something beyond of what we are currently in. So
Yep.
all this curiosity has actually made me to actually align more how what this emerging technology in combination with insurance can help the space industry, because this is something that's going to evolve more and more. There are going to be more private players coming in it. There are already a couple of startups in Europe who have started working on it, but of course it is not that yet marketed, so none of us know much on it. But this is something that generates the curiosity.
Uh,
So it's kind of a nature, that when something is less, the awareness is less, you become more curious to understand, and the more you understand better, you want to spread the knowledge for others' benefit.
True, true. The are you aware of any other, let's say, researchers who are exploring that topic? Obviously, you're very passionate about modern technology. You're very passionate about blockchain, the use of blockchain, use cases, etc. But are you aware of any other people who are actually looking into this? The
Yes.
Yes, you are. Do you work together with these people? Do you collaborate together
Well,
with these on research?
we have not collaborated yet, but we have discussions, webinars, fireside chats on all these topics, to exchange knowledge, to understand what's happening at their side of the world, what's happening at my side of the world, and what are the best ways to look at where both our energies and knowledge and experiences and technologies can be brought together to
Yeah.
create something better.
Wow. Um, I'm not definitely not the person, to 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 ask, but still I will, because I believe that beautiful minds, like you should be given a platform. You know what I mean, to express your opinions, your ideas, because up until now I have never heard of anyone speak of blockchain and space exploration. You are the very first person I've actually hear mention any of anything like this in a very logic way. Of course, in terms of insurance, but still, and I'm like, wow. Um, how long? I mean, you mentioned earlier, right, that obviously first you have to have the mass, adopt the technology, and then you have all of these corporations who wants to yeah, commercialize and leverage upon the capabilities. Understandable. What is needed, do you think, in order to achieve this mass adoption? What a lot of people have been talking about.
The first thing which I would say is education. So that is you know the fundamental uh, element that will kickstart a journey in this direction. People need to understand things the way it is, the way it's supposed to be. People need to have a mutual perception built towards it.
Hmm.
People need to frame a purpose, what do you say, a purpose that fits to benefit the society, and how efforts can be brought together, how resources in today's world can be leveraged well, because we are, left with abundance now. Wouldn't have dreamed this 20 years back, but now we can connect from one, a person sitting in Fiji to a person sitting in Alaska, a person, sitting in southern part of India to someone in the Netherlands. So and it happens in just a matter of seconds, and the huge difference which is evident now is through this pandemic which we're going through. Everyone is working from home at different parts of the world, but with a single common goal for a particular organization, connecting from their home to their personal computers, doing the same work which was being done at office at same level, gaining more businesses, millions and billions of dollars. So if such things are happening at this scale, we are, the utilization of human power, it's very, very minimum.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to, push.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. Basically, you're saying yes. We need more collaborative initiatives on all fronts. I mean, not only on the educational front, but also on the development front. And
Absolutely.
yes, I agree fully with you. Why have the media? What do you think? Why have the media not yet really been that keen on the use of blockchain? I mean, when I say media, I'm not talking about the crypto media. I'm talking about the conventional media. Why have they not picked up? Why have we not hear much about, hey, okay, uh, basically, you painted a perfect picture, very logic and understandable. Anyone who listened to what you said earlier, on the about the car and the insurance and the use of blockchain, and in the event of an accident, how that can all come together. They understand that. But why do I need to speak to a private individual? Read well, listen well, a very intellectual individual as well, beautiful mind. And why can't I not hear this from the media? Why can't I just turn on my television or my radio and hear this from the news?
Right. It's a very, very interesting question. With emerging technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, 5G, and others, we essentially focus on four things, which is governance, of course, keeping aside the technology and its adoption. It is governance, international law, security, and economics. These are the four elements apart from the technology itself that we are focused on. Now, if I look at the mainstream media, what commercial benefit will they retrieve in discussing uh, emerging technologies, and what benefit it might have for the future generation industries and others? Yes, they will certainly come in when they find there is a $1 trillion loss happen for a Bitcoin transaction, because we as human who buy those news, we are more interested, we have built our perception in such way that we are more interested to know the negatives first. That's how it triggers our mindset.
Mm.
The IQ level, or someone, there's a lot of discussions happening on EQ levels. So where does it stand with all these developments?
Yeah.
So the media is technically trying to satisfy what their customer needs. Now, if tomorrow XYZ media starts showing, um, you know, what blockchain has to do with a particular business line of the insurance and how it will benefit and etc., no one is actually interested. Yes, they will do it, only they have a target segment. For example, you have specific medias focused on businesses only. Like in India, we have CNBC, we have Business Line. So
Yeah.
there you have customers who wants to understand more on what's happening in the industry and what would help them. So they would have discussions, interviews, debates on this particular matter. But that is
Yeah.
only 10% of the industry. The other 90% would involve in more bigger mass needs, where the demand is more widely spread than just a specific target segment.
Yeah. Um, I do understand, right, that if there is no, let's say, commercial benefit for them, they don't cover the news, right? But uh, truth be told, it's not that blockchain technology is something that's just born. It's been around for more than 10 years. And we've seen, the effect that, okay, cryptocurrencies have um, on economies. So if we're dealing with such a technology, right, and where a lot of analysts are actually all agree that they're here to stay, we cannot think them away anymore, and there's actually a future. You can't tell me that you won't be speaking of something like that. I mean, everyone speaks about 5G, and trust me, blockchain and cryptocurrency were around way before 5G were born. So why would they choose, let's say, to give that more attention than this technology that has actually been around much longer than that? So yeah,
Well,
that's baffled.
the simple answer to this is because those technologies are making news, but blockchain is not. So cryptocurrency is making news. Libra did. Um, any other improvements happens in any currencies, that will do, because we are essentially talking about finance. We're
Yes.
talking about money, right?
Yes.
So, and what and a particular platform which has which holds no clarity for an individual or an organization or a government. So, and when more and more companies are trying to build on it, trying to understand where the opportunity lies, when there's no clarity on legislation, no clarity on governance, no clarity on the outcome, and no clarity on the disadvantages, so
Hmm.
that is bound to get, bring more news, because the curiosity is right there, right? What is
Okay.
going to happen? Like in India,
Yeah.
cryptocurrency was banned, and that was making more news. Why? Because there are more and more startups coming up in the crypto space as crypto exchanges.
Yeah.
They are trying to get fundings. They have got funding, but the law was not allowing them. So there was a lot of kind of a battle happening between the industry and the regulators. But of course, fortunately, in March this year, the Supreme Court of India have made trading of cryptocurrency legal now. So that gives a boost to all the interested players in the segment.
Yes.
But again, as you said, blockchain, it came long back, just after, whoever it was, Satoshi Nakamoto, we don't know. But yeah, it came, it did make a difference. But again, it did not make a news. It,
Yeah.
it, it added value, but it did not make a news. It is
Yeah.
adding value for industries, starting with the BFSI, which is the most significant part. But there's nothing that is actually creating that much of curiosity, which has both the negative, this sparkling factor in it.
Yeah. Understood.
Yeah, but Surya, what is your opinion about fiat printers versus blockchain cryptocurrency makers, you know.
See, fiat currency, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, it is bound to get, as I mean, I may be wrong, but what I think, it will down the line will go away completely. And if you see during this pandemic, it has already triggered that response among these citizens. Now, no one want to have an exchange of fiat money, right? Because of the what do you say? The risk it transfers with the coronavirus, right? Everyone wants to protect themselves. The best way to transact is nothing but the digital way. So be it through your phone or digital currencies and etc. So what will make the difference is how we as a community change to the situations that we foresee from this particular time.
Nice.
Yes, but do you see and make difference between digital fiat and digital cryptocurrency based money? You know, because digital
Okay.
yeah.
Well, so if let me ask you a question on this. What exactly would you mean by a digital fiat? We all know a cryptocurrency, what it is, but what do you exactly mean by a digital fiat?
This is interesting question. This is the system of central banks. The central banks make certain, let's say, print certain digital money, and under certain infrastructure, they are flowing around like they do now. Every country, central bank, 200 countries, 200 central banks, and the risk for the devaluation of money nobody could cover, because there is no connection with gold reserves like previously. So this system, according to me, could not function anymore. This is evident.
See, when you say digital fiat, and you mentioned central banks, the only difference that comes in is how I see it, is the governance, right? Now, cryptocurrency, these are regulated, controlled by private players as well. You have Facebook, you have Ethereum, you have many Ripple. Now, digital fiats are just the digital conversion of tangible money, correct? And those are controlled by central banks. So they have the proper regulatory and the governance aspect to it, which is more secure as they portray it for us to use it, as compared to using a cryptocurrency where a person as an individual user, give the right of my transaction, my money and everything valuables to a particular private organization, which is certainly more riskier than having it dealt with a central bank, which is part of the government.
But in case of public blockchain, there is no private organization, you know. Bitcoin, who is the owner of Bitcoin? Who is the owner of Ethereum, and who is the owner of Cardano?
See, now, as you mentioned, blockchain, as I said, it is, the technology itself is it's very nascent. So we are starting to see its implementation. We don't yet know how secure it is, how scalable it is, But what we know is the algorithm, the cryptography that forms the basis, right? Which is capable of protecting from any, for example, cyber attacks. So we all have theoretically and in some limited use cases have experienced it, but we are not yet sure on this two particular aspect, which is scalability and security. Now, if, for example, another important part that is coming up is quantum computing, though I'm not much into quantum computing, but I would like to quote an example. So, in case of quantum computing, if you see there is a kind of a computing attack happened, will a blockchain be able to protect it? If so, how? We don't know. We don't even know whether it'll be able to protect or not. So these are some of the fundamental questions we are not yet aware of, but we are working on it to understand. So the risk it exposes are not clear, and definitely is not out there in the air. And this itself brings a lot of ambiguity in the system. So when things are not clear, we will not be able to depend on any system built on such frameworks, be it with respect to a fiat, digital fiat, or even a cryptocurrency, as we know it as on date.
No.
I understand your point. Yes.
Surya, I just checked the time. I really want to, let's say, work towards the closure. And I mean, in the chat we mentioned that for our next conversation we really want to touch base on the topic of legislation, blockchain, crypto legislation, and governance. Now I know that you just mentioned something briefly there as kind of like a sweet eye, for the next time. But we really would love to go more deeper into that topic, because I know it's a topic that's also very dear to your heart as well. So if there's anything, yes, sure, continue.
Yeah, I think that is certainly one of the burning area in blockchain and other, particularly blockchain, I would say, because there is a lot of risk involved in any blockchain transactions happening cross-border. So there will be a lot of alignment that has to go with the international law, the regulations framed by individual states. So that is something which means definitely one of the most important segment of this particular topic.
Nice. With that said, I'd like to close the talk for today. Thank you very much, Surya Saha, for joining us. Author of The Digital Choices. We're really grateful of having you on, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for having me, guys.
It was my pleasure to discuss those things. I wish you to stay safe, because the situation is still dangerous. And let's be safe and healthy, and everything will, let's say, show to us the right way.
Thanks very much, and I wish you guys the same. Keep safe and stay healthy, and all the best for your future engagements in the topic.
Thank you very much there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.